All right, boys and girls, this week we will be learning and reading legends and tall tales. So, what are they? So, although they are similar to what we did last week, there is a slight difference. So, let's review very quickly. Last week, we learned about myths. So, a myth is a traditional story about heroes of supernatural beings, often attempting to explain the origin or natural phenomenon or aspects of human behavior. A legend, which is what we'll be learning this week in correlation also with tall tales, is a story from ancient times about people and events that may or may not be true. So we are going to notice some differences in the text that we are reading this week from the ones that we read from last week. They are similar, but they are going to be a little bit different from what we did. So let's leap into legends. So, what is a legend? A legend is often believed to be true, and the characters are usually considered to be historical by some. Some examples of some legends are some stories that you may be familiar with, like Robin Hood, King Arthur, and Pesos Bill. And some common elements that you see in legends are they are usually stories passed down from generation to generation, and there usually are stories that are told orally. Some important meanings to the culture are usually found in legends. There's usually heroic characters. They're based on historical facts. There's usually some spiritual beliefs intertwined within legends, and these stories are usually told to explain how something came to be true. And legends are set in the present or recent past, and they're supposed to be true and usually are told to scare, teach, or inform or to entertain the audience that it's being told to. And while they may be true, they tend to be exaggerated or distorted over time, which is very similar to a tall tale, which I'm going to be introducing to you here in just a brief moment. And legends are stories that are handed down through generations and again told orally, which is usually by word of mouth. Very nowadays they're usually written down and read in books, but historically they were told just by storytellers or by word of mouth around like a fire or in the homes of the families that were telling these stories. And what is a tall tale? And these are other stories that we'll be reading this week as well. Most of the stories that you'll be reading will be an epic, but there are a few stories that you'll be watching videos of this week as well. And a tall tale is a fictional story that stretches the truth. Some believe that these stories could be based on real people, but there are so many elements within these stories that are stretched so far beyond what could possibly be true or larger than life that it makes it very hard to believe that these stories could be true. So they say that these heroes are larger than life. And sometimes this hero is based on a real person. So I have a this week I challenging you to do the following. So, when you are reading legends this week, I want you to identify the important meaning from the culture that it is from. I want you to challenge yourself to name the historical facts. I challenge you to retell the story in your own words of how something came to be. And when you're reading your tall tales this week, I challenge you to identify what could be true. So, what facts in those tall tales could be a true fact or based on a real person. And I also challenge you to identify what could be the exaggeration of the truth. So, what parts within that story could be those stretches of truth or those tall tales within that story. Happy reading, boys and girls, and I hope you enjoy these tall tales and legends that you are going to have the wonderful joys of reading this week. Happy reading, boys and girls.